Ah,
Hey, how's it going? So yeah, this is my 45th birthday, and I am here with my very good friend Tori Biutanaseva. Hey, how is it going?
good,
Uh,
thank you.
she's using portrait mode like a monster. Well,
Now you're on the side. That's weird.
no, never mind.
Yeah, no, you don't. You're kind of, you don't switch.
What are you working on?
What do you mean? What? I'm on my phone.
So if you kind of turn to the left, you can't
Yeah,
record.
it doesn't switch round for some reason.
Oh, okay. All right.
Don't know. Yeah.
How's it going there?
Yeah, good. Yeah, I'm just in Tesco's car park charging my car.
You charging your car? What kind of car do you have?
Got electric, fully electric Mercedes B class. Doing the bit for the environment, reducing the footprint.
Electric Mercedes. What type of Mercedes is it?
It's a B class.
Okay. How long does it take to charge up?
Oh gosh, it depends on the power of the charger. So this one isn't a very powerful one. It's 7 kilowatts. So if it was from like from nothing, it would probably take, I don't know, about 9 hours probably to charge fully.
Okay.
Yeah, but on a more powerful charger, it would take a lot less. So yeah, these ones are free. They're in Tesco's and they're free. And so I dropped Tally because Tally does dance on Mondays and Thursdays, and then does cadet straight after. And it's all quite near. Her dance and cadets are very near each other, and it's not far from this car park. So I kind of, yeah, I go and drop her off at dance, come and charge up, go and get her, take her to cadets, come and charge up. Yeah.
How long have I got you for? How long are you able to chat for?
I can chat for about 40 minutes.
40 or 14?
40.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, so you're around for a bit. Well, welcome. I think a couple of people are going to come on from Butlins.
Oh,
And so, yeah, it would be nice if you could hang around and talk to them about your experiences and everything with
cool.
that. But yeah, no, otherwise, can we talk a little bit about what you do? If everyone's coming in, what you do with your daughters and your role with their new careers and everything. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, it's been very, very quiet. So basically my girls do acting. They're with acting agencies, and so they've done sort of TV and film and TV commercials, music videos and stuff, but it's been very, very, very quiet recently, well, since lockdown. So, and it takes quite a lot of kind of input from the parents to kind of update photos and update size and measurements and just keep on top of it. And there's kind of all different types of kind of websites that you can sort of go on to get jobs and stuff like that, but I just don't have the time or the energy to do that. So, you know, it's something that if you go into, you've really got to sort of invest into really and put a lot of work into, which I haven't done for, you know, for a number of years. And so yeah, they haven't really done much. recently, but yeah, but there haven't been that much around because of COVID and the restrictions and stuff.
Well, no, they're going to be in a very big shiny new epic series that is coming out
Yeah.
that we can't divulge. But tell us about kind of like, you know, like filming that if you can without giving it out too much away.
Yeah. No, it was great. It was really good fun. You know, the twins, that was with the twins, and they yeah, that they played sisters, so they didn't play twins in that. Yeah, they loved it, and it was an incredible experience to just be able to tour the world, really, go and see different countries and meet different people, and kind of these kind of big named actresses and actors who you just think would be really I don't know, just kind of wouldn't really want to talk to kind of the likes of you, just a normal person, but they're just so down to earth and really lovely and just chatty and just were really nice to the girls. And so it was just a really great experience for them to be around sort of professionals, you know, people that are really professional in their craft, and just the whole special effects and you know, were just incredible. The set was incredible. So, you know, they learned so much in terms of kind of set design and special effects and how costumes are made and all of that. And it was just, yeah, it was just a fantastic experience for them. I think you kind of maybe have a stereotype of kind of actors as being really over the top and full of themselves and kind of really sort of flamboyant and kind of diva, and they're not like that at all. Well, at least the people that I've met haven't been like that at all. And so that's yeah, it's I think it's always nice when your preconceptions are challenged and you're sort of yeah, put in a position where you look at things in a different way. So that's, yeah, it was nice. And yeah, we've kept in touch with you know, certain people that they filmed with, and so it's been really nice for them to have other adults in their life that just kind of, yeah.
So you're the mother of 3 daughters, including
Yeah.
twins, and you manage their acting career. I mean, the entertainment business is a very fickle and unforgiving place, filled with disappointment and rejection. How do you manage the emotions of 3 very impressionable young souls, aside from your faith and your God? How do you kind of, how do you kind of like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, well, you just kind of you go to a casting and then you forget about it, so you don't carry on talking about it. You don't, I if they've got a casting, I don't kind of big it up to them. I don't kind of make a big thing out of it. It's just kind of like, well, you know, we've got this casting, perhaps do a little bit of preparation and just try and keep them very grounded and very humble, and just, you know, you go along, and then I don't mention it after that. And then if they get the job, you know, obviously I tell them, but if they don't, I don't mention it. And you know, they might sort of ask me about it, and I just say, oh, I haven't heard anything, because you don't hear anything if you don't get the job. You don't, it's rare to hear back from them. And so they just, I think because they've done it for years since they were tiny, they know that it's a really ruthless industry, and they know that actually that there's a huge chance that they're not going to get this casting. And if they get it, it's a bonus. If they don't, then yeah, it's fine.
I say that you're a person of faith. Give me an example of when you have been on set and your beliefs have gotten in the way of a storyline or how something has been filmed?
Yeah, well, we went to a casting once, and Tally was really young. She was like probably about 6, and it was a horror, and I didn't know what it was going to be for when I went there, and I went into the casting, and it's usual for you as a parent not to go in with them, and so I sat outside, and then when she came out and she told me about the storyline, and I think I then went in and spoke to them. I think they called me in afterwards and sort of went into more details of the storyline. It was quite sort of satanic, and so I went home and thought about it, and then sort of emailed them and said, because I think they contacted me saying that they wanted her to go back for a second audition. They loved her, and they thought she was really good for the part, and it was challenging because it was quite early in our kind of sort of introduction to the industry. So and the kind of, certainly in the early days, you kind of want to get every opportunity and give your child the best opportunity, and so I didn't want to kind of turn it down and kind of thinking, well, this could lead on to other things, this is a really good experience, but I thought about it and thought, no, I can't expose my child to something that I think could potentially damage them, because it was quite a scary storyline, and I just thought, no, you've got, they're only young once, and as a parent you've got to make those decisions. And so there's been a few cases of kind of that when they've had castings for things and you're not given an awful lot of information at first, for several reasons. There's sort of the whole confidentiality. People don't want their storylines going out and their scripts going out, and then it's after they've been offered the job, then you kind of get a kind of more of an idea of what the storyline is. And I've had, there's been a few occasions. There was another one where it was in a brothel, and this sort of the storyline was about a child that was raised in a brothel and kind of reenacting some of the things that she'd seen. And although it would have been filmed in a very sensitive way, to the people that are watching it, it wouldn't have been. It would have looked like she was exposed to things that she shouldn't have been. And so there's been, probably 3 occasions where I can think of where I've had to turn down jobs because I just thought that's not good for them.
Okay, so I've got this brand new kind of podcast and everything. I was wondering if you would do me the honor of blessing this podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Go ahead.
Oh, Father God, I thank you for Mark, and I thank you for the gifts and the skills that you've given him. Lord, I thank you for his brain. He has got such an inquiring brain, such an inquiring mind, where he questions things and he explores things and looks deeply into things and sees things that perhaps other people don't see and wouldn't even notice. And Lord, he's got such a creative mind as well, to be able to create stories, create narrative, to take people on a journey with his creative abilities. And I thank you for those gifts, which I believe come from you. And Lord, I thank you for this this podcast that he's had this idea about, and how it's going to be something to inform people, to enrich people, to enlighten people, to explore ideas, explore experience, explore people. And I thank you that you love people and that you created people for your pleasure. You created them because you love them and you love to have relationships with them. And so I just pray that you will bless, firstly, that you'll bless Mark, and that he will know your presence with him, that he will see you working in his life. And I pray that you'll bless the podcast, Lord, that all the practicalities will fall into place, the practicalities of trying to arrange to record people, which isn't always easy with people's busy lives, the practicalities of the technical things, everything working the way it should do, and the practicality of it getting out there. And I pray that the messages that he records from the people that he interviews will just be used to really bless people and to enrich people and enlighten people and help their learning envelope to be enlarged as they experience more from the people that you've created through Mark and his ideas. We pray this in your name. Amen.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And if I become the next Joe Rogan, then I have you to thank. If I don't, then we have something to talk about. So you were a chaplain of the Fulton Young Offenders Prison. Tell us about that and how your faith affected your decisions and incidents that happened there.
Yeah, so a chaplain, for people that might not know, is like a vicar, basically in a prison. But so you have sessional chaplains that can come from sort of different faith groups and Christian faith groups, sort of non-denominational churches, and then you've got the full-time chaplains that come from that come from sort of one of the recognized Christian, and you've also got full-time imams as well, and there's probably other full-time chaplains of other faiths that in cases where there needs to be. So in Feltham, you know, the kind of predominant faith groups were Muslim and Christian, and so they had full-time Muslim and Christian chaplains there. So the Christian ones would be Church of England and Roman Catholic, and you would have to be a recognised minister of that religion. So a recognised Church of England minister or a recognised Roman Catholic minister to be a full-time chaplain. And so I was doing a youth work course, and it was a Christian youth work course, and I really wanted to do a placement working with people with drug like a drug rehabilitation centre, and that fell through last minute. I was due to do that, fell through last minute, and the only kind of thing that I could organise was to work with the youth offending team, which I did. And I just really I got an awful lot out of it and thought, you know, this is what I want to do. I want to work with young offenders, but within a Christian capacity. And the only thing that I could think that did that was a chaplain, prison chaplain. But at the time I wasn't even attending a Church of England church. I was at a Baptist church. And, you know, I definitely wasn't had no intentions of becoming a Church of England vicar, and obviously to become a Roman Catholic priest was totally out of the question. So, you know, it seemed an impossible thing to become a prison chaplain, but this thing just wouldn't go out of my mind about being a prison chaplain. And so I started working for a charity, volunteering for them, and then I got a job with this charity. It was a mentoring charity in the prison called Trailblazers. And so I worked with them and got to know the chaplains. And at the time, the prison was going through some difficult times, and they had number one governor called Nick Pascoe, who was a really fantastic, inspirational guy. He was absolutely great. And he was given quite a lot of money to kind of invest in the prison. And he spoke to the chaplains and the chaplain and decided to invest some money in the chaplaincy to employ a Christian youth worker and an assistant chaplain. Now, the youth worker could be kind of any denomination, but the assistant chaplain should have been a Church of England sort of ordained minister, so like a vicar. But I went for the job, and there was no one from the Church of England headquarters on the interview panel, and amazingly I got the job, which was just an absolute miracle. You know, it's kind of unheard of, really. And I didn't feel that God was calling me to go for the youth worker role. I really felt that it was the chaplain, and there was another guy that went for the youth worker role, a guy called Colin, and he got the job, and you know, and is absolutely perfect for the job, and he's still there now. Goodness knows how many years was that? It would have been like, wow, yeah, 20 years. My goodness, that's incredible. Yeah, it would have been 20 years. He's been there now. Yeah, so yeah, that was amazing. It was just yeah, it was amazing that I got the job, and it was like, this was the job that was made for me, really. It was so I met you, Mark, at Butlins, where I was training to be a teacher, and I loved my work at Butlins. I loved not so much the actual work, but I loved meeting the people that I met. I met some incredible people, including Mark, and it was a real eye-opener in some ways to life, and to just meeting so many people from so many different walks of life. And you know, what I found at Butlins were a lot of people were escaping from things that had gone wrong in their life. You know, perhaps they'd got caught up in gangs or drugs or crime or abuse or all different things, loneliness, depression, and they could kind of leave that life behind and have a fresh start at Butlins, where they had a job, a roof over their heads, you know, clothes, food, a new set of friends, a new community. So it was like kind of, this was a second chance. But I think, you know, the trouble is often when we run away from problems, those problems come with us. And so, you know, there was some just amazing people that I met, and just learned so much about life and about people. And that was really good. I think that was really good training for working in the prison, because I think it's easy for people to be really judgmental, to look at people that have kind of got themselves into crime or got themselves into drugs or unhelpful lives, and just be really judgmental about that. But when you sit down and you listen to their stories, and you see where they've come from, and you know, the kind of life that that kind of has been handed to them, the childhoods they've had, the challenges that they've had, it's really humbling to see, actually, you know, that this person's had a really difficult life, and they've tried their best to make the best out of it, and things have gone wrong. So yeah, it was kind of like, when I went to the prison, I felt like the whole of my life had been training me up to this point. And so when I was at Bognor doing my teacher training, I knew that I didn't want to be a teacher for the rest of my life. I knew that this was going to lead me onto something else. And it was coming to the end of my course, and I was feeling really quite down, because I was just like thinking, I don't really want to go into teaching. I don't know what God wants for me in my life. And I used to go to this church called Revelation Church, and they met in different there was different congregations that met around Bognor and Chichester. And in this particular week, I don't know why, I went to a completely different congregation than I'd normally go to. So I don't know if there was a special service, or, you know, why. So it was the first time I'd been to this particular venue, and so I didn't know any of the people there. And at the end of the service, they asked for people to come out for prayer, and I went out, and this man that I'd never met before prayed for me, and he said, I just have this picture of this big old-fashioned lock with a huge big old-fashioned key, and the key went in the lock, and it was a lock for like a treasure chest. And when the chest opened, what was inside the chest was what you've been looking for your whole life. It's what God has trained you up for your whole life. And I thought, you know, that's a lovely picture. That's really amazing. And kind of, you know, sort of almost sort of forgot about it sort of a few months later. So that was in the kind of July when I was finishing my course. And then I then got a job in a school up in London, and it was the September, and I was looking for a church and found a church that was quite near to me, and they had like a youth, that particular sort of denomination had a youth service in the evening. So I went along, first time I'd been along to this church, and they had a time of prayer where you could pray for the people that were sort of sat near you. And this lady, I'd never met her before, she asked if she could pray for me, and she prayed, and she said, "I've got this picture from God for you. It's really bizarre. It's of this old big treasure chest, and the treasure chest has a big old-fashioned lock, and there's a big old-fashioned key that goes into the lock, and when it opens, what's inside that treasure chest is what God has trained you for." And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so weird. You know, this guy in Bognor had exactly the same picture of this treasure chest just like 3 months before, 2-3 months before. And it was just like, yeah, mad, completely, yeah, weird that they both had this picture. And anyway, the years went by and I kind of forgot about that. And then when I started working in the prison, I had my keys, my big jailer's keys, and I remember picking up the lock, the key, and putting it into the big lock, and suddenly the penny dropped. This was kind of the picture of this big old-fashioned key going into the big old-fashioned lock, and you know, this is what God had in store for me. So that was just a really incredible revelation for me, that, you know, God had been preparing me my whole life for this position. And even though I wasn't qualified to do this job, you know, I didn't have the right qualifications, God opened the doors for me to work as a chaplain there at the.
Do you have any kind of like wild or insane stories about kind of like the people that you worked with?
Yeah, you know, one story that comes to mind it was a really humbling story, something that just completely humbled me. So it was there was a time, there was a murder that happened, where, and it was all in the news, and it was two boys and a girl who had killed this innocent guy who had narrowly escaped death from the now bombings that had happened years before, a couple of years before, and he'd survived that. And then he was just out, had a drink, was drunk, sat down in London, and these kids walked past him and they killed him with this so-called happy slapping. So they videoed it. So the girl videoed it, and the two boys beat him up, and he died. And it was all sort of recorded, and you know, and it was just, I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, I really don't want to meet those boys, because it's just absolutely insane. You know, I can't justify this. You know, it's like this guy didn't deserve it. He was totally innocent. He didn't do anything wrong, and they just did it for their own pleasure. And I, you know, most things I can justify, and I can kind of find some reason. And I just thought, for this particular crime, I just couldn't. And so I didn't want to meet the boys. And as a chaplain, what you do, what part of your role is, you see everyone that comes into the prison within the first 24 hours of them coming in, to sort of see how they are, tell them about what's available to them, but mostly to kind of see how they are and see what their worries and their fears are, see if they're kind of suicidal, see if I have to contact anyone from their family, what support they've got coming in, etc. And I saw one of these boys, and it was it was a complete shock to me, because he wasn't anything like what I imagined him to be. He wasn't this monster. He was this frightened little boy who'd had an awful childhood, and was just he was living with his family ill uncle, who was very paralyzed, very disabled, and he was their carer. He'd been abused by his mum. He didn't know his dad, and he'd lived with his auntie at some point and been abused, and he just had a really awful upbringing, and he'd been off his head on drugs, and he'd seen this guy, and he looked at him in the same way that his stepfather had looked at him, and he looked like his stepfather, and he just lost it, and this girl just thought it was funny and thought she would record it. And I got to know this boy, and just and just saw what a lovely boy he was, even though, sorry, I just got some messages coming through. Even though he'd had this awful life, he still had this ability to love in him. And then his grandma died, and normally I would pass that news on as a chaplain, but his family felt adamant that they wanted to come and pass this news on, and so it's only in exceptional cases that we'd let families come in to pass that news on, because it's it can be, from a security point of view, it can be quite difficult, but I managed to arrange it for his family to come in to break this news to him. So he knew his family were coming in, and he had no idea why they were coming in, and he hadn't seen his uncle since he'd been in prison, and he was really missing his uncle. So he was so happy to he was so excited that his uncle was coming in to see him. And I remember just feeling really heartbroken, thinking, oh my gosh, you're gonna just be so upset when you find out why your uncle's come in. And I went to the visit. I'd arranged a little room for them to meet, the family to meet up, and I went to the visiting hall, and I saw his uncle, and his uncle was just, he was in a wheelchair. He had this disease that kind of ate his limbs away, and so he didn't have any hands, and his arms were kind of sort of stopped short, and he looked like he hadn't had a bath in a very long time, or washed his hair, and kind of the bandages around his limbs were just filthy, and his clothes looked filthy. And I remember just looking at him thinking, thinking that I didn't really want to get that close. And this young man saw his uncle, and he just went running across the hall, and he just embraced his uncle. And I just, in that moment, was so humbled, and just thought, there's me that's had all this privileged upbringing, that's had everything, had loving parents, and have grown up with love. And I was kind of there thinking, oh, I don't want to get too close. And this young man, who had no love in his life, had only known abuse, was able to see past all the dirt and all the grime, and just embrace this person that he loved, that could do nothing for him. And that was just, I think, one of the most humbling experiences of my life.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. And with your parents, they are lovely people. I've met them, and they are wonderful. And I've got a lot of time for them. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, moving on. The Kingdom Church in Camberwell has a pastor called Clement Wiseman, he was in court recently and has denied the fraud allegations against him. He sold a divine plague prevention kit for £91 that included a bottle of oil and a red yarn bracelet that cured and protected people from the coronavirus. Is this right?
I think, you know, when I hear stories like that, you know, I haven't heard of that, but I find that completely heartbreaking because, you know, it's I think any fraud is heartbreaking, any fraud is awful. But when people do it in the name of God, it's just, you know, it's just horrendous.
But
And
is the church doing enough to stop things like this?
I don't know that I can speak for the church. I think the Kingdom Church, I don't know. I've never heard of them. They're not under the Church of England. You see, the Church of England have a very good structure where there is accountability within the Church of England. So, you know, you've got your priests. So, you know, in our church we've got Andy, who's the vicar, but Andy doesn't make the decisions on his own. There's something called a PCC, which is a parishional church council, and so they meet every month to discuss all decisions, and so, you know, although he's the vicar and he's the vicar in charge, he doesn't make, he's accountable to the PCC. He can't make a decision without, you know, a big decision without getting the permission from the PCC. And then over him, he's got the bishop. So we've got a bishop of Kensington. We're in the Diocese of Kensington, and then over the bishop, you know, he's got the archbishop. So there's always somebody that you're accountable to, and so I don't know what the systems are. You know, within the Baptist church, again, there's accountability. Within the Pentecostal church, there's accountability, but there are people that will start up churches for the wrong reasons, because it's a power thing. It's not about praising God. It's not about bringing people to God. It's not about bringing God's kingdom on earth. It's bringing their kingdom. And so, you know, the church, if you're talking about the churches in the Church of England hasn't got any authority over those groups. You know, all we can do is actually be salt and light. You know, Jesus talks about being salt and light. Salt is something that flavors things, but it also purifies things. Light, you know, shows up imperfections. And what Jesus said to his disciples is that you are to be salt and light. And so, you know, within my community, so I work in the Laleham, in the parish of Laleham, and so if there was another church in the parish of Laleham doing something like that, you know, I would see it as my responsibility, and I'm sure that, you know, that Andy, the vicar, would, you know, our first response would be to pray about it and to speak to the other Christians in our church and say, you know, we're really concerned about this, and then, you know, sort of challenge that in whatever way is the best way of challenging it. You know, each situation is different, but, you know, that's you know, terrible that people would do that in the name of God. And I think, you know, Jesus was very, very, very strong in his words to people that lead other people astray, and that do things in his name that, you know, that isn't him. So yeah.
Yeah, so what do you think that do you think that there has to be more kind of like biblical or faith teaching in schools?
From a Christian perspective, I would say that, the teachings of the Bible, if you look at kind of, the Sermon on the Mount, that is just such an amazing, powerful talk, inspirational talk. It's talking about blessed are the peacemakers, blessed are the poor in spirit, blessed are those who mourn and they will be comforted, and it talks about how to live your life right, how to turn the other cheek, how to not repay evil with evil, how to forgive, how to help people, how to treat people, how to love people. And I think, whatever religion you belong to, or even if you don't have a faith, I think it'd be hard push for somebody to read the Sermon on the Mount and disagree, or to maybe people would disagree, saying, well, is it right to turn the other cheek because what that could potentially get you bullied, but to kind of think that actually that there was something evil about, or something wrong or unhelpful about that teaching. I think, so I think the principles of the Bible, the principles of Jesus's teaching are just really really helpful to any faith or no faith. And I think religion is really good. I think religious studies is really good because it helps people to be aware of other people. And I think one of the problems in our society, whether it's racism or sexism or homophobia or whatever it is, it's because people are ignorant and unaware and are small-minded, and they don't want to look at how other people think. And with religious education, religious studies, it's about exploring how other people think and what other people believe, and just encouraging people to be understanding and be tolerant and to be aware. And I think that that can't be a bad thing.
Should church leaders in the UK have a seat at the government?
Yeah, I think, definitely. Yeah, because I think, again, it's about being salt and light. So it's not about saying that you have to follow a certain religion, but it's about saying, well, if you look at the principles of Jesus, it's about fairness, it's about equality, it's about empowering women, it's about empowering and looking after the weak and the widows and the poor, and I think that having somebody there with that agenda, that is their agenda, to make sure that kind of those principles are being carried through in our laws is really important. And that doesn't mean that you have to be religious to have good values at all, but it just it's just, I think it's a great checker to, so it's the bishops that have the place in I believe it's the house, is it the House of Lords? I should know this. But to get to that appointed place of being a bishop, they've gone through a sort of rigorous training and rigorous kind of I can't think of, like, filtering's not the right word, but sort of, these are the most trusted of the most trusted, and men and women of great integrity. And so I think it's always good to have people of integrity that are trusted and have proved themselves, that are part of the sort of lawmaking people in our society.
Okay. Well, I don't know where everybody is. That said that they will come and join me at 7 p.m. but thank you for coming on and indulging me. Would you, how long have you got?
Let me just check the time. Sorry, I've got this watch, this like Fitbit, and it's charging, and so I don't have it on, so I can't see what the time is. What time is it? It's yeah, I should actually get going in a minute. Yeah. Oh, where are you? I've lost you now.
Yeah, I've got.
There you are. Yeah, you're back. You're back.
I want to do a quick quiz before you go away.
Yeah.
Would you indulge me in a quick quiz?
Yeah, but I'm really thick. I'm not very good at answering questions. Quiz questions.
Well, this is gonna go great. Okay, I like to kind of like do stuff and I like to interview people, and it's very dark, and then I do a very fun quiz at the end. So I'm gonna call this Avengers quote or Bible verse.
Okay, Bible stuff I'm better at.
Avengers quote,
yeah,
or Bible verse. Number 1. For it is God's servant, an avenger that brings their wrath on the one who does wrong. Is that Avengers quote or Bible verse?
I'd say there's a Bible verse.
Absolutely correct. Ding, ding, ding. With great power comes great responsibility. Is that Avengers quote or a Bible verse?
I think that's an Avengers quote. It should be in the Bible though, because it's good.
Ding, ding, ding. Well done. From everyone who has been given much, much will be required. Is that a Bible verse or is that an Avengers quote?
It's a Bible verse.
Ding, ding, ding. Well done. 3 for 3. Okay. Question 4. We will work together to be an example of how we, as brothers and sisters on this earth, should treat one another. Is that a Bible verse or is that an Avengers quote?
I think that's an Avengers quote.
You're fucking right, yeah. Well done. Okay, number 5. If no one sows us, we will surrender to you.
If no one
saves us, we will surrender to you. Is that a Bible quote or is that an Avengers quote? If no one saves us, we will surrender to you.
Yeah, Avengers. Am I wrong?
If no one saves us, we will surrender to you.
I don't know. I'm getting the impression from your face that it's a Bible verse, but I can't think where that would be in the Bible.
It's a Bible quote.
Wow, I was wrong.
Okay, question number 6. The church is in the exact center of the city. The elders determined everybody should be equally close to God. Is that Bible verse or is that a Bible verse or is that a quote from the Avengers?
So the church. Say that again. Say the quote again.
The church is in the exact center of the city. The elders determined everybody should be equally close to God. Is that Avengers quote or Bible verse?
Avengers quote.
You are absolutely correct. Okay. Question 7. Devise a plan. It will fail. Make a prediction. It will not happen. Is that a Bible quote or is that, sorry, Avengers quote or Bible verse?
Bible
Devise a
verse.
plan. It will fail. Make a prediction. It will not happen.
Bible verse. I think maybe Proverbs.
Absolutely correct. Well done. Okay. Question number 8. Calm down and it will be quiet. Don't be afraid or cowardly because of these 2 smoldering sticks. Is that a Bible verse or is that an Avengers quote?
Say the quote again.
Calm down and be quiet. Don't be afraid or cowardly because of these 2 smoldering sticks.
I think it's an Avengers quote. I can't think where that would be in the Bible.
Oh, it's wrong.
Was I wrong? 2 smoldering sticks. I can't think what that is. What story that is. Was it? I should imagine. Is it from the first 5 books of the Bible? Maybe Exodus or something. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy.
You're asking me for the answer. I don't know.
Okay.
You can Google it later. Okay, question number 9. Is this a Bible quote? Sorry, is this Bible verse or an Avengers quote? Number 9. I was formed before ancient times, from the beginning, before the earth began.
That's a Bible quote, Bible verse.
Can you tell me where it's from?
It's from, it could be, there's 2 similar ones. There's one in Psalms and another one in Isaiah.
Well, it's fucking right anyway. Well done. Okay, question number 10. Is this an Avengers quote or Bible verse? The strong man who has known power all his life may lose respect for that power, but a weak man knows the value of strength and compassion. Is that a Bible verse or is it an Avengers quote?
And Bible verse, Proverbs.
Where do you say?
Proverbs. It'll be one of the Proverbs. Don't know which one.
Yeah, sorry, it's an Avengers quote.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
There is a similar thing in Proverbs as well. But yeah.
What's it in Proverbs?
I don't know the exact quotation, but there is something very similar in Proverbs. Yeah. Yeah. Well done. Good quiz.
So you got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So yeah, you got 7 out of 10. Well done.
Not bad.
Yeah, not bad. So yeah, no, I saw this online and I was like, oh, gotta do that with Tori. And yeah, the Avengers quote of us, it was
Yeah. Well, let me sing happy birthday to you before.
You don't have to do that.
Yeah, I do.
Because, well, nobody else is going to do that, apparently, because nobody else is all the people that were promised that they were coming to do this at 7 o'clock haven't come. So yeah, you may as well.
Okay, are you ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mark. Happy birthday to you. May God bless you. May God bless you. May God bless you. May God bless you. 3 cheers. Hip hip hooray. Hip hip hooray. Hip hip hooray.
All right. Have you got to go?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
All right.
But
Thank you.
it's
Thank
been
you for your
great
time,
to
and
talk
thanks
to
for
you.
answering my questions and yeah, putting up with my bullshit for many years. So thank you very much.
Oh, no worries. It's my pleasure. Yeah, and I'm really sorry that last Thursday didn't go to plan. It was just, yeah, sometimes, yes, things just, yeah, having 3 daughters and one called Tale who has so many things going on. Yeah, it was, yeah, it was a crazy evening and didn't go to
Very
plan,
much.
but yeah. Okay. All
I love
right.
you, mate. Thank you very
Love
much.
you too. Bye. Bye.
Bye.